I think sometimes when we're all get to this position that Brother Darren was talking about, this week as I was preparing for this message, and still just really thinking about the life that Sister Gail, because like I told you, that really hit me pretty hard just from the standpoint of all the things that she did for the Lord, for the church, and just, and I was talking to her mom and her aunt. I said, and I shared this at the funeral, I said, it's always tough. And 12 pastors are here, and we were just talking because it's hard because, as he said, everybody's busy, and when you really need them to do the work for the Lord, you start to really see where they really are not. And it is what it is, and it's tough sometimes when you're preaching this because you're going through this. And I want the Galilean church is just like the church of today. And you start thinking about, what are you seeking after? Because they had just seen, we just talked about this last week, they had just seen this miracle done. 2 fish and 5 loaves, and he fed 5,000 and had all that left over, which they said he fed up to 20,000 people totally. And so it does seem like Jesus is pretty hard at times because here they were seeking him. So if we build this background, now remember, they sought him after he'd fed them because they wanted to make him a king. They want to hold on to him. So Jesus slid out from the back and they couldn't find him. So now they knew this. The disciples knew, the other people that he fed, they knew that he wasn't on the boat. So you start thinking about all this. So why are you searching? What are you seeking for from Jesus? And it's interesting because something popped in every one of your minds. You start going through this. And when you really start looking at this text and start reading, you're like, golly, I was just like them. Because I say I'm coming to church for this reason. I say I read my Bible for this reason. I say I pray for this reason. I say I tithe, I give offering for this reason. And then when it really comes down to, I did not realize how self-serving we really are as a people. And there's nothing new under the sun. You just have to look at it and own it and evaluate yourself and go like, wow, am I like this? So I want you to think about that. So what are you really seeking after? And when that question comes out today and you're just looking at it and you're going through life and whatever age you are, from the youngest in here to the oldest, and you heard what he said and the different song, and he knows my name and all the stuff, and I got tested and we were talking about something. We had such... Since I've been pastor, we had the best Wednesday that we've ever had. And the reason why we had the best Wednesday was because I was obedient to God. Because sometimes I won't get in there so quick and I'm time conscious. And guess what we did? And those of you who wasn't around, we had 15 or 20 minutes of just prayer. And folk were just opening up. Folk who never open up would just, because there's so much stuff. I'm broken, but I try to give this facade. And my wife would say something to me all the time. I said, baby, when I would get mad at the cashier and folk didn't want to touch my hand, I throw my money on the table, I was frying with it. And she'd always say, baby, you just never know what they're going through. And so what I started to realize is that you make it about you, and it's never really about you. Because so many folk bring so much stuff because they don't sit back. They don't take the time to talk to God, to give it off to God and release it to God. So therefore, you get the stuff that they're bringing at the store. You get the stuff they're bringing at the family. You get the stuff they bring to work. Because you think they're going to shake it off. You think that's why they come to the church. You think that's why they wanted to get across the sea. You think all this stuff, and I'm reading this text. I'm like, wow, it was such a mess. It had nothing to do with being in the presence of Jesus. And I be asking myself, why do people come to church? How do you come to church and you're still full of hell, and you're still angry, and you're still mad? What are you coming for? Why do you give yourself? Who are you fooling? Who are you faking? And it's kind of crazy. And then it goes here. Come on, Colette, my phone went out. Read 22 through 24 for me real quick, and I'm going to get you out of here. And I want you to think about some stuff as you got this. And don't think about the Galilean church. Don't think about Centennial Baptist Church. Don't think about First Baptist. Don't think about the Methodist. Just think about you. And what are you seeking daily when you go to work, when you put your clothes on, and you brush your teeth, and you do your hair? What are you seeking after? You got 24 hours. And he says something. Are you just busy? Are you really about my Father's business? Are you just busy? And this is crazy because they had just, and think about this, they had just came out just the next day, just a few hours ago. Remember I told you the storm came at 3 a.m. The storm arose at 3 a.m. So they didn't have enough time to get all this other stuff. They had just come out of the storm. And now it looks like, man, are they afraid? Do they want to get in the presence? Or they just want something from God? And we want something from God without putting nothing in. Come on, 22 through 24 from me real quick.
Verse 22, on the following day, when the people who were standing on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there except that one which his disciples had entered, and that Jesus had not entered the boat with his disciples, but his disciples had gone away alone. However, other boats came from Tiberias near the place where they ate bread after the Lord had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, nor his disciples, they also got into the boats and came to Capernaum seeking Jesus.
I had to go back home. Capernaum was a representation of getting back home, understand familiarity. Heard what Sister D said. It's kind of interesting. I'm getting back here. I'm getting in my comfort zone. I want to feel good around folk. So what are we seeing? So the thing I'm going to ask you in 22 through 24 is, what have you realized lately? The interesting thing, coming out of the COVID transformation, we talked about, I told you, Gail's thing, and we said people was there, and because everything was shut down. Isn't it interesting that we all say we're so busy, but man, when the COVID hit, it shut everything down. And you had to start to realize what's really important. I couldn't get to my job. I couldn't get to the store. So now I'm in a house with a husband I don't even want to be with. I'm in a house with a wife I don't want to be with. Now I'm in a house with kids I don't want to be. It's crazy. So you laughing. I see all this. The school system saw it. More child abuse went up. Spousal abuse went up. You see all, you know all this. And it's like because folk are so busy. They don't want to be around. And then we wonder why we can't love. We can't even love the ones that we say God gave us. What have I realized lately? So you want to, what have I realized lately? So I'm trying to figure out something myself. So I just came up with some questions I want you to think about because I had to reflect back. Number one, how did Jesus get there before the disciples and us? Sometimes I got to realize, how did Jesus get to the situation before I got there? He wasn't on the boat. Come on now. We didn't see him around. How did he get there? There's no way, because the only way he can get there is on the boat. And somehow he got there before I got there, Larry. How did Jesus get there? How did Jesus learn how to love folk who hated him? And he told you they'll hate you without a cause. How did Jesus get there, Terry? Why am I worried about folk that don't like you? When Jesus said they not going to like you. They're going to be jealous. They just don't care. So why are you concerned? Come on, I'm freaking the thing. How did Jesus get there before we got there? I know what he said, but man, that's hard to get there because I ain't done nothing to them. They should like me. They should love me. I've been good to them. I fed them. I took 2 fish and 5 loaves. I took my time out and broke the bread and gave it to them, and they were all filled. So why do they? Number 2. How does Jesus show up in your life? I've heard some folks sit here and gave their testimony today, so you need to ask the question, how does Jesus show up in your life? I'm going to give you this idea, but I want you to just think about the question. How does Jesus show up in your life? You got 24 hours a day, and how does Jesus show up in your life? Number 3. How do you seek after Jesus in a 24-hour period? How do you seek after Jesus? You got 24 hours, and how are you seeking after Jesus in those 24 hours? It may afterthought. Come on now. He's not my first thought. He gets my leftover. He never gets my first fruits. It's crazy in your mind. I'm evaluating. It's crazy that you use that because I have to evaluate too. It's not just for you. Does Jesus only show up when I'm going through situations? Number 4, The fourth thing I want you to think about, what have you learned about yourself lately? Do you seek him selfishly and wrongly? It's interesting because it looked like they were seeking him to find where he was. Come on now. But then when we realized it was selfishly and wrong. And so many of us, it looks like we're seeking him. I'm coming to church, I come to Bible study, I pray, I read my word, and everything that they were doing was what they could get out of it. They just wanted to be around him. They didn't want him. And I didn't realize there's a lot of folks that just want to be around Jesus but don't want Jesus. Can you separate your wants from your needs, and why? I had a conversation at a ministerial line. So I had a bunch of preachers around who were talking, and a lady made a comment. I said, after 22 years of pastoring, I've learned something real quick. And man, she's texted me ever since that day. She said, I never heard her put that away, but thank you. I said, the problem is this, because the Bible does not lie. He said, you will never go without your needs. All your needs. He didn't say some of your needs, but all your needs will be supplied. The problem is, most of us get frustrated because you keep making your wants your needs. See, he never said all your wants. He said all your needs will be supplied. Oh, I'm going to give you the word. But the problem is you keep trying to make your wants your needs. And most of you spend all your time fighting God because it's your wants, not your needs. And I told her to go check. All these folks will come to you. I ain't going to give you her title. That's when they come to you. Ask them. And I guarantee you they're going to spend more time fighting you because they're going to make a want a need. And we walk through it. Colette is a representation for this church on the ministerial line that there's people in this community that need help, so they got to sit down and look at it. And it's the craziest thing how we ask this question. And every one of you in here have convinced yourself now, including me, that a cell phone is a need and not a want. Yeah. And we couldn't survive without it. You have convinced yourself that cable, I'm going to give it to you, that cable is a need and not a want. You couldn't survive. I got to watch my TV show. Come on now. I got to watch my sporting event. See, it's crazy. And guess what I've learned? The more time you spend doing all that, the less time you're going to walk with Jesus. And brother, I didn't realize they spent so much time trying to find him that when they find him, we can really show what happens. They don't even know why they were looking for him, but they were just looking for him selfishly and wrongly. Is your problems bigger than your solution? Now remember when I said problem, I put an S on it. It says solution. Because there's only one solution. And his name is Jesus. The problem is when your problems have gotten bigger than your solution. Come on now. That's why I wear it all the time. The bracelets that Uncle Nick gave everybody in the church, you all wear. God is bigger. So guess what I've learned? When I look down, there's three that I'm wearing. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. God is bigger. I am with you always. Come on, brother. Now, I don't know how I can walk out there in this world and have this bracelet, and as soon as the problem comes, because the problem gonna come, but guess what? I have the solution to the problem, and the problem is, if my problem gets more of my attention than my solution. And I'm praying that you turn this thing around by seeking the solution versus talking about the problem. Amen. And the last one, you know why it's hard, Minister Tawaka? You know why it's hard? Because we are stuck on self versus stuck on Jesus. Guess what he said, Brother Gus? You must die to who? Self. How long? Daily. Man, come on, cuz. You mean I gotta die? If you want to see me, you gotta die daily because you really think you're something. And brother, what I gotta do is break all you down because you think you're really something and you're really not there. Hey. So I must die daily in order if I can get to Christ. Come on now. Ain't that some good stuff to know? So what have I realized about me lately? Man, it can't be about me and it can't be about you. It's got to be about Christ. Now let's move on, verse 25. Look how he says it, so smooth. Only the way God can say this. After you realize it's not about you, it's about Christ, Dwayne. I'm taking Christ in with me. I'm going to break these horses in the name of Jesus. See, I love it because 2 months ago, you gave it to the church because you were struggling. And guess what? You ain't talked about it anymore. And today you came in and you gave a report. See, I'm always paying attention. Yeah, I'm talking, but I pay attention. Give God a crazy praise. He came in, he dropped it off. He said, I'm struggling with this one horse. And then he comes in and says, guess what? With the help of God, I broke another horse. So what we learn, no matter what the problem is, it can't be broken unless you seek Jesus. 25.
And when they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here?
I'm going to have some fun with verse 25 because it messed me up too. Okay, all you who are seeking after him. Okay, Sister Alberta, you've been in church all your life. You come to Bible study. You come to Sunday school. I know you love the Lord. I've been all around. Now Jesus shows up at your house. Hey. What are you going to ask him? They've been searching for him. Jesus finally shows up. What are you going to ask him? How long you been searching for him? 50 plus years probably. How long you say? And now you finally found him. Huh? Yeah, I don't know. It fell off. And now you finally found him. And now it's crazy, isn't it? You finally found him. What are you going to ask him? Thank you. What are you going to ask him? What are you going to ask Jesus? I'm going to ask you the very first thing, number one. You know what? I didn't realize how messed up my mind was. So before I ever come into his presence, before I get all excited, I can't wait to meet Jesus. I'm going to go through here. I'll go wherever, and I'm going to meet you. The first thing I'm going to ask you, what's on your mind? See, bro, you better get your mind right, because something is controlling your mind. You got 24 hours, and if you really was honest with yourself and you wrote it down, you would write down what getting most of your attention. And guess what? That's what you be asking God about. So they all going through this. Number two, when did you come to Jesus? And this is what was interesting, because they didn't. Guess what they said? You got to read this stuff later on, early on, study some more. They were getting hungry again. The midnight snack done wore off. The 2 fish and 5 loaves done wore off. And this is crazy. I don't want to dog it now because I'm probably the same way when I really look at it in those years. When did you come to Jesus? When your possessions were threatened, or when you thought you needed more? And every time your possessions get threatened, and every time you think you need more, guess what you do? You supplant with wants. And guess what? Over time, your wants be getting your need line. And guess what I've learned through this text? You start focusing on your wants more than your needs. You will pay for your wants before you take care. Oh, come on. Come on now. You'll let your water bill cut off and pay your phone bill. Watch out now. He let me preach this thing. See, your wants are getting in the way of your need. And it's crazy how so many of our family and friends will waste their money on liquor. Will waste their money on drugs. Will waste their money on clothes. Come on now, we got them all. Everybody here got them. Because in their mind, I need all of that stuff to survive. And they want you to pay the water bill. Come on now, they want you. Come on. So we go through this and you start to see it's crazy. And the last part of this text that blew me away. Remember, it it's not the possession. It's not even the wants. It's not the needs. Brother, I don't want you to walk out of here. Thank God that you got a nice house. Thank God that you got a nice wardrobe. Thank God you can get this. The problem that he said to the Galilean church, the same thing this church, is when your possession start to control you and they become more important than the God you serve.
Right. Amen. Amen.
You worried about how you look versus coming to get your praise on. You spend more time getting yourself all dolled up and walk in here and stay the same way. The message has never gotten a hold of you. You never shook your hair loose. You never dropped nothing off. But you say you love the Lord and you'll say this to me. I don't praise like that. Well, baby, when God drops it hot on you, when God covers you, when God loves on you, you're going to let the whole world know. You don't care how unsophisticated you look. You don't care how crazy you get. You don't care about no slobbering. You just thankful that God is in control now. How do I know? How do I know? Because I was one of them. I used to do this. Sit in church, looking at folk crazy. And y'all know I got some looks. And I'd say, Reverend Gar, I'm all the way back to them days. I said, you ain't got to do all that. And he would say this to me, young man, one day you're going to do all that. I said, I don't praise like that. You ain't got to do all that. And I remember some years later, Elder Ward preaching at a revival at the old Centennial. And before I know it, the young dude that sat over there looking around, the liar, the fornicator. But I was in church. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. And one day, the message got hot on me. And before I know it, you remember they still talking about it. I was jumping up like Michael Jordan, trying to touch the ceiling. I got it. I got it. Running around. It ain't been the same since. Because when the seal gets on you, we getting ready to go home. When he covers you, when he loves you, and you know that you're not lovable, there's something. Jeremiah said there's fire. Shut up in your bones. And you want the world to know that God loved me in my worst condition. And all I can say is I'm glad that stuff don't control me like it used to control me. I bought off impulse. I bought off, people gonna see me riding. People gonna see me dressed in this. People gonna see me wearing it. Now, I'll buy it and tell them where I got it. No, man, I got this at the consignment store. And man, it fits me like I bought it at Macy's. Matter of fact, the suit I bought at Macy's didn't get no compliments. The handovers, the hand-down suit I got from Pastor Shaw one day, man, that time I like that suit. Like, man, me too. Ain't that crazy? So guess what? It doesn't matter how much money you spend. It doesn't matter where you get it from. It's the glow that God has put on you. It's the glow that God has covered you with that makes it shine. And let's go home. Get right, church, and let's go home. Are we going to get right? We all feeling the same thing, but sometimes it's crazy how close we were just thinking this week. How the messages line up. And Genesis 22 and 1 through 19. And I'm like, what would I give up for you, Lord? You gave up everything for me, but what would I give up for you in order to gain? Come on now. I don't give it up. And didn't even have to give it up. He just wanted to see if you're willing to give it up. And some of you ain't even willing to give it up. Let's go home. 26 through 27.
Jesus answered them and said, Most assuredly, I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw the signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Do not labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God the Father has set his seal on him.
And I stopped by to ask you, when you seek after him, I got to ask you, because it with me, do you seek him wholeheartedly or half-heartedly? The Galilean church, they sought him half-heartedly. They just wanted what was in his hand, not what was in his heart. Pastor Short gave me that years ago, and I've kept it with me. It's so powerful. You won't get bent out of shape because you're going to realize that there's more parasites than proteges. Parasites want what's in your hand, and proteges want what's in your heart. See, everybody don't want all that, because see, when you get like that, and you might be in church sitting by somebody, and before you know it, you think you're on the elevator stealing from them. They done moved down. Look at you know what I'm saying? Got the side-eyed look. And see, I used to want to get mad. Don't get mad, because she read something in 27. The seal's coming to you too. The seal of approval's coming to you too. Because once you get the seal, see, you won't half-heart no more. You gotta be a whole heart. And see, brother, I'm telling you, do you want his life? See, I know why. See, do you want his life? See, you can't come after Jesus unless you want his life. Do you want his character? Come on now. Do you want his teaching? Come on now. See, no, baby, all we wanted was his miracle. That's why we half-heartedly come. Because the first three things is costly. Man, it's costly to want his life. It's costly to want his character. It's costly to want his teachings. And I'd just rather, because the word allows me to get by half-heartedly until the seal comes on. And I pray today that when you walk out of here, and man, this is what a great nugget. Look at the last part of 27. So I don't labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to the everlasting life. And this is it, which the Son of Man will give you. Because nothing special about you, nothing special about me. The because changes. Not your family, not your education, not how much money, not how good looking you are. All the stuff we put artificially on there. We saw all that in the Bible, in the Old Testament. I'm telling you right now, some of y'all looks have become your liability. Your hair too fine, and your shape too fine, and your eyes too good, and you spend 24 hours trying to keep that up, and you ain't got nothing on the inside. Come on now, oh, you look good on the outside, but I'm going to find out what's on the inside. See, I'm not saying there ain't nothing wrong with all the outside, but I pray that one day you'll work on the inside. And preacher, how do you do that? I'm going to tell you, how much time do you spend praying? How much time do you spend studying the Bible? How much time do you spend meditating on the scripture? If you're doing those three things, then look what God said he's going to do. How will I know? Let's get out of here. Come on now. In the old day, I say, hit me on the piano. No. That's what they would do, wouldn't it? And they'd hit you. They're going to go here, and he said, because God the Father has set his seal on him. On him.
I just